Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond BMR. I am, of course, I'm your host, Bigfoot, Mr. Rob. Thanks for coming on in this Tuesday night and joining us. Have a fantastic show lined up for you. Of course, joining me in Studio B, the lovely Christa from the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. Go check out Christa and Brandy every night, Thursday and Friday, 9 in the East Thursday, 8 in the East on Friday. Check them out. Thank you. Also, joining me backstage, Dave Scott, Space Style Radio. He's behind, well, kind of the captain's chair a little bit. We're going to share the chair tonight. So thanks to Dave for coming on and taking time out of his busy schedule. Beyond BMR goes beyond the mysteries of the world. We take in a deep dive surrounding all of these strange phenomena out there, from Dogman to Bigfoot, aliens, alien abductions, UFOs, all things strange. How do they all come full circle? Well, you find those things out on this show. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot, Michigan Rob on YouTube, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast found on YouTube, and of course, Texas Front Porch found on YouTube. And of course, my guest, Dave Scott, Space Star Radio. You can find Dave Monday through Fridays, 6 Pacific. And he also has a weekend show with his fabulous team Saturday and Sundays. So go check out Dave 7 days a week. If this is your first time here, again, please subscribe. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever social media is found. We're also on Spreaker. We're new on Spreaker now. We set that account up some time ago. Check that out. We're also on KPNL Radio. So go check us out. We are all over the place now. If you like to support what we do around here, the Super Chat's open. The Super Chat's a great way to help support everything we do around here. Also, don't forget, you too can become a BMR pirate. Arr! Join up. Hit the join button. 120 strong. That's right, 120 strong. You get a little picture of me with my bandana on next to you when you're out in chat. It's kind of fun. Cool thing I do around here. So thank you so much for that. And speaking of what we do around here, of course, Mondays is Texas Front Porch, 8 to 11 on Monday. Tuesday, Beyond BMR, 9 o'clock in the East. Thursday afternoons, a brunch with Bigfoot, Mr. Rob, at 1 o'clock in the East. Texas got a new show with Monica Rollins, Her Paranormal World. You can find that on Texas Front Porch, 8 o'clock on Thursdays. Blondes and the Booze right after that at 9 in the East with Christa and Brandy. And then we roll into Friday. If you need a little more woo with the booze, you can find the Booze Friday at 8 o'clock in the East. And moving on, Tex, another show. Well, actually, no, it's Brandy and Randy's show, Truth or Tinfoil. They do a breakdown on pictures and videos, and they call it out whether or not it's real or fake. No indiscretions. Just your thoughts. It's kind of a cool show. And of course, Tex is into true crime on Sundays with Daniel Diva, Infamous Minds, 7 o'clock in the East on Sunday. So there's a little bit of everything throughout the week with what we got going on. Of course, my buddy Dave Scott. Also, don't forget, it's coming up pretty fast. June 7th and 8th already, 2024, the Alabama Bigfoot Conference speaker lineup. Well, first of all, Tex Weston is the master of ceremonies. Speakers, Bart Nunnally, Daryl Denton, the Blondes and the Booze, Jason McLean, Greg Ogles, Martin Groves, and of course, yours truly, Bigfoot, Mr. Rob. And I got to tell you what, these tickets are cheap. $30 online, $35 at the door at the Anniston Performing Arts Center, held, of course, in Anniston, Alabama. June 7th, we're doing a meet and greet. It's already booked. Doesn't mean you'll be turned away at the door, however. The restaurant won't turn you away, and neither will we. Come on in. June 7th. You got to go to www.bamabigfootconference.com for details. It's brought to you by Sidekicks Paranormal. And one last thing before we get rolling, I want to thank everybody for buying my book, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob Presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1, found on Amazon. Just click in Bigfoot, Michigan Rob on your Amazon browser. It'll pull right up. The link is also in this chat. It's on all my videos. Also, Dave Scott's link for his show. If you're not subscribed, subscribe today. It is posted in this show. Thank you so much for that. And I'm going to get on with it and bring up the lovely Christa.
Hey.
Hey, Christa. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. You know, I'm sporting yellow and orange because The sun was high today. It was 73 degrees. I kind of I didn't do what I normally do in the morning. I kind of took the day off and I went out and got some yard work started, which of course it'll probably snow in 2 weeks. So no,
Yeah, I hope not.
yeah, I hope not either. But I still have my shovel outside off
Right?
left of my door. This year in April, right around the 15th of April, I put my snow shovel in the
Don't
house.
put it away yet.
And now I'm going to keep it out there. I don't want to jinx it. I'm not going to jinx it. I want to thank everyone for coming on and to watch this awesome show that I have set up for you.
Yep.
Um,
It'll be a good show.
it's going to be a great show with Dave, and I'm going to bring him up right now.
Sounds good.
I like the hat that Dave was sporting. I'm going to bring him up.
Hello.
Hey guys.
Hey, Dave.
Oh, hello.
Well,
Good to
thanks,
see you.
Dave. Hey, it's great to have you back on. I appreciate it, especially since right after this show, everybody can run over to Spaced Out Radio. So thanks for coming on, taking your time out of your schedule.
No worries.
Thank you for that. I've known you for a while now. You've been on this show probably half a dozen times, and it's always been on the day show. So I'm glad to have you finally on the night show. So I appreciate that. And
Yeah, because last time I was co-hosting brunch with you, and
Dave was so you were on with me and Dave. So this is your second go around with Dave.
Yeah.
Well, it's always a treat, though. Awesome.
Yeah.
You guys can hear me, right? My internet icon is on. I'm still coming through good.
You sound fine.
Okay, well, great. I won't worry about it. We'll roll on. So once again, thanks to everybody for coming on in. So yeah, Dave, I'm glad to have you on for this evening show. And before we get started, Dave, you got anything special events going on? Anything you got going? I know you got something coming up in May before we get the show rolling.
Well, I'll be in about a week and a half here. I'll be taking in the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference down in Nebraska, speaking down there. That's, believe it or not, Rob, that'll be actually my first Bigfoot conference that I've spoken. And I'm really excited about that. And I've never been to Nebraska. No need to go to Nebraska, but I guess now I do. So I'm heading down there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And you can see my son kind of encroaching in here.
Yeah, I see him.
He's got his hockey gear on. He's practicing in the basement. We made a makeshift little rink for him there, so that way he can be practicing his shots and stuff. But I got that. And then the few weeks after that, we have our third annual SOR fan party in Reno, Nevada. And we switched it up from Vegas to Reno to see how it would look this year. And we got a bunch of people coming who are our audience members and a lot of special guests from people who've appeared on our show. And it's going to be a lot of fun at the Silver Legacy Casino Resort.
Very cool.
Awesome. It's going to be a great event as usual. I know your other two events, they were stellar. So I'm sure this one will be nothing less than stellar itself. And today's show, the premise of today's show, we're going to cover a lot of different subjects with all the strangeness, whether it's alien, UFO. But I know it's pretty good because of the fact that you have had some cryptid or Bigfoot encounters, which I'm sure you'll probably bring to that in Nebraska, which we can get into a little bit after the show. Well, I wanted to start out with something. I know Christa was kind of wanting to hear this, and it's something when you first, a while back, this happened to you. And for those who know Dave, you might have heard the story. Those who have not, you're going to hear it again because it's quite fascinating. And it's one of the first things that it's probably my favorite story of all with you, Dave, when years ago you had an experience with the angel of death. And I'd like to know if you'd like to walk us through that.
Yeah, I can walk you through anything. And it's a big anniversary for me tomorrow as well, as it'll be the 10th anniversary of the UFO landing that I witnessed.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's, again, we got a smorgasbord tonight then. Thank you.
Lori Barnes says hello to your son.
Yes. So I lived a happily boring life until 2011, December 13th, 2011 at 7:45 p.m. That's how exact it was. And there was a Vancouver Canucks game going on my house. And what we did was I did an early Christmas for my daughter who is going away with her maternal grandparents on a Caribbean cruise over Christmas and New Year's, and I wasn't going to be able to see her. So I ended up having an early Christmas with all our family coming over. There was about 25 people there who were hanging on out, and at about 7:45 p.m., my mother and father said that they had to go. I'm like, what? Like, why do you have to go? And then I realized that it was Dancing with the Stars night on TV that they couldn't miss. And I remember getting really, really upset about that, because in my family, we're not a tight knit family. Okay. It's like we may gather, we may play the part, but we're never really, close. I don't talk to my dad every day, but it's just those things that happens in families. And on this night, I was a little upset because there was, this was for my daughter, and Dancing with the Stars was a little bit more important than my family stuff. And so I was cleaning up, kind of just ignoring my parents, a little upset. I was cleaning up the the living room and dining room of glasses and dishes. And my mom said, "Hey, we're leaving." And she was in the doorway between my kitchen and my dining room. So I put my hands full of, of plates and everything on like dining room table. And I started to walk through the area or the doorway where my mother was in the kitchen. And as I walked through the door, I kind of put my arms out to give my mom a hug. And I realized that her beautiful blue eyes were no longer blue, and that there was no sound coming from the television. And basically her eyes were jet black and her pupils were white. And I looked at her, I kind of cocked my head to the side, and immediately I started to get sick to my stomach. And I knew right then and there that I was staring into the eyes of the angel of death. And I started to kind of panic, and my mom kind of gave me this look like, oh, like a real shocked look, like, oh, you see me. She then shook her head. Sound went back on the TV. Her eyes are now blue. And I was like, oh my God, what did I just see? Wow. She gave me a hug like nothing happened. And I was like almost in tears. So I gathered myself together, walked to the door, walked my parents outside to their vehicle, gave my dad a hug, my mom another hug, and sent them on their way. Well, that night, without even knowing what channeling was, not knowing what any of this woo crap was, I channeled the angel of death. And to this day, I don't know why, don't know how. But he basically said to me that my mom was very ill. My mom at the time was a 2-time cancer survivor. And, that she was quite ill, and that we as a family needed to take better care of her in order to keep her alive. And he said, if you're not going to show your mother more love and more support, I'm going to take her home. And he didn't say heaven. He didn't say hell. All he said was, I'm going to take her home. And that's really what I remember from this 38-minute conversation. I don't recall anything else, but it affected me. It affected me big time. Now, the cool part about it was I lost my mother last year. And the funny part about it was I got another, after following what the angel of death said, I got another, 12 years out of my mom, or 10 years out of my mom. Well, hold on, 2011 to 2023. So 12 years.
12 years. Yeah.
Mom. And, she got to meet my son. She got to meet my grandson. Mm-hmm. And, the first time she met my grandson was the day before she passed. And it was an amazing, amazing time. And, from there, everything kind of spiraled out of control.
Mhm.
I never talked with the angel. I've talked with the angel of death once since then. Um, that was kind of trippy again.
Mhm.
But within a couple of days of that incident happening, my my house became haunted. My daughters were literally being terrorized by ghosts in the
Mm.
house, and we had never had that activity prior to anything. And so I contacted a psychic friend who put me in touch with another psychic friend who put me in touch. I ended up meeting this gentleman named Pascal, and Pascal opened me up. And I remember the first conversation I had with him. He said, "How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go?" And that's probably one of the most important questions that I've ever had. And I made the mistake of saying all the way.
Wow.
And from there, the experiences just took off, and, I realize, and I want to preface this, I realize that there's a lot of people out there who will hear my story tonight and they'll say, "Oh, this is BS. Not everybody has all of that happen to him. He's obviously
Mhm.
starving for attention. He's obviously making things up for his show or his ratings or clickbait or whatever the key term is that triggers people these days." Okay. And my thing is, I don't care. I
Mhm.
don't care. I've had people come up to me and say, "There's no way that happened." And my answer to them is, "Are you there? Were you there? Were you there the day I saw the alien in the forest with Samantha Mowat? Were you there the day that the UFO landed in front of me? Were you there when, my son and a couple other buddies saw a Sasquatch 2 years ago and then heard his buddy way off in the distance getting closer to us?" And that's kind of the way it's been. And, you know, I have nothing to hide. And the one thing I will say this about experiencers out there, that with experiencers that are out there, there's not a single experiencer that I have met in 9.5 years of doing spaced out radio that has asked for this. Not a single experiencer has asked for this. Okay. They are all like me, who are answering or want the one question answered that we cannot answer. And that is, why me?
Mhm.
Why did this happen to me? I lived a happily boring life. I had my poker game every week with my boys. I had a great family time and with adventures, holidays, rock concerts, living my life the way I wanted to be in my late 30s going into my 40s.
Mhm.
And then all this crap happened. I don't regret it. I'm the one who made the decision to go down the rabbit hole. Okay, that is what has um, kind of gone through. 1 second. Yes. No, I can't. I'm doing an interview. You weirdo. But you're handsome. Sorry about that.
You're good, Dave.
Yeah, I got my little guy right beside me here.
No
So,
problem.
I mean, I never wanted this to happen, but
Mhm.
it happened. I'm glad it's happened. It's kind of defined who I am. I've lost a lot of friends over it. I've lost family over it. Frankly, I don't care, because
Mhm.
this is the way I'm supposed to live my life. I care about my show. I care about my team. I care about my audience. And I care about getting the people's stories out there, because there's not a lot of people out there like me who want to go public with their stories. There's not a
Right.
lot of people out there who have the ability to do that, or maybe they're too afraid to speak about it. And I hope they find that common voice with what we do.
Mhm.
I agree with that statement. And I got to circle back just a moment. You mentioned a little bit earlier in your story about how you didn't have a close knit family per se. Do you think that perhaps this experience that you did have was something like foreshadowing into pulling you together? I mean, this happened for a reason to maybe get that family unit closer, do you think?
No, no, no. This was a personal journey.
Okay.
This was a personal journey that that they sent me on, and once again, I'm still searching for the why me. You know,
Right.
it's weird because prior to this happening, I was a sports fanatic. I could sit down and watch hockey every single night. And look, I'm like everybody else during that time.
Yeah.
I was really into the paranormal television shows. I really loved Paranormal State on A&E. That was the start to me. I always thought Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International was a little hokey. Like, here you go into a haunted building to prove if it's haunted. Like, come on. Like, Paranormal State at least told a story.
Right. Agreed.
It told a story, whereas the others really didn't. And that cookie cutter ghost hunting type show that we see on television with everybody and their dog doing now, I mean, I find that entertaining.
Yeah.
I really, I mean, it's not, to me, it's not worth watching. You
Yeah.
know, I'd sooner sit down and listen to 3 hours of creepypasta, okay, and fall asleep to that than watch a bunch of guys. Can you knock on the walls 3 times? Can you fart, please, and make sure that we're able to, it's you, claim the smell, right? I mean, that's how ridiculous it is. And hey, it is what it is. If that's what the television producers want, they're going to get that. But when
Sure.
you get that, and the other thing too is when you see every paranormal television show doing the exact same locations, just with a different team, how many times, and this is my shot at the paranormal world, how many times do we have to see Gettysburg or the Salem witch trials area, or
I gotcha. I hear you.
Islands, or what's the one where she butchered her parents?
Lizzie Borden.
Oh, Lizzie.
Borden House. I mean, you would swear there's only 6 haunted locations in the United States. Bobby Mackey's, there's another one. Everybody else does Bobby Mackey's. Where are we going to see something different? Okay.
Right.
And look, hey, if that's what the audience wants, great. Let's do 17 shows at Bobby Mackey's and everybody gets something different. Right. We're doing it for science, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Go ahead.
I really agree with you on that.
So really, I was going to ask you too. Then that I was going to ask you, did you always picture yourself being a radio host? Apparently, that wasn't really in the cards until a little later in life. Then.
Well, I got my degree in broadcast journalism.
Okay.
I spent 10 years in radio. I lived through the hell of working in radio. I had my dream job and the most job I hated at the same time. The dream of it was I never paid for a round of golf for 10 years. Okay. The dream was I got free passes to every hockey game, every baseball game, every football game, every basketball game, every PGA event. The nightmare was actually having to cover soccer, because nobody, if you like your children, you shouldn't put them in soccer. I like my son. That's why he's dressed up in hockey gear right now. Okay. So, I mean, I look at that and I just think, wow, like when I left terrestrial radio in 2007, I had no intention of coming back. And when I started Spaced Out Radio, I didn't even know what a podcast was. Like when I left radio, I had no idea how to download things. I had no idea that you could download a bunch of songs on iTunes. Like I was never technically gifted, and I had to learn it. I had to learn it all. And that's just the way it is. I had, so when I stepped back in, into getting into the world of radio, I didn't know how to do a podcast. I didn't know how to do a YouTube channel. I knew how to run a radio show. That's simple for me. I know how to format a radio show. You learn that stuff over time, only through education and through working in it. So it was nothing new. It felt very comfortable coming back on the air, but it was an experience that I hadn't planned on. That's for sure. And now I'm 9.5 years in.
Wow.
you know, I often wondered about this 9.5 years in, and I sit back at night sometimes and think, you've been doing this for a long time. You're very good at it. You're an awesome interviewer. Always have great guests on your show. I've been talking to some people, and it kind of brought me down a little bit. But with the genre we all talk about, your Space Out Radio, you talk about everything. I try to do the same. Christa, Jessica Jones out in chat room. What do you think there's a future in this moving forward with what we talk about, or do you think people get bored with it? I for one think no, but I've been told otherwise. I'd like your thoughts on that.
I think there is and that's a great question, Rob, because I've actually pondered that a lot over the last 10 years. Okay. Whether or not it's worth it or not. When I first started in the game, there wasn't a lot of podcasts. And Lord knows there was. I mean, the only real radio shows were Midnight in the Desert and Coast to Coast AM. And Clyde Lewis, when he was actually talking Paranormal on Ground Zero, which is now more of a political show, there wasn't a lot in there. So I figured, you know what? I can fill that hole. But, especially through the entire COVID saga, okay, that's where people all of a sudden seem to explode with podcasts. There was two explosions that happened. Number one, the UFO world really exploded with the creation of the To the Stars Academy when they came out in 2017 and introduced. That's Tom DeLonge's group, okay, and then everybody and their dog wanted to be a UFO podcaster. And then during COVID, when people were off and they were not going to work or whatever, they were sitting at home and they bought themselves a microphone and built a YouTube channel and they took off through COVID because they didn't know what was actually going on and they wanted something to do that interested them. At first, I was real excited about it, but looking at it now, I think we've oversaturated the market where there's some great shows out there that are once a week, once a month, every night like I am. Okay, there's some great shows out there, but they're also diluting the audience. And what I mean by that is, back in the day when you wanted something, you would go support, let's say, Art Bell on Coast to Coast. Everybody knew who Art Bell was. With the advent of the podcasting system, okay, what we're seeing these topics so downgraded to the smallest denominator that somebody who doesn't believe Bigfoot is a relative of Gigantopithecus isn't going to listen to a show that has people investigating the supernatural side of the creature. Okay. And what we've done is we've divided these topics up so much that there's no way you can get a big audience. It's impossible. I mean, you hope that people will grow. You hope that people will understand. But with the changing of social media so quickly now, too, we are looking at, situations where if you're not keeping up with the algorithms, if you're not keeping up with your social media and almost having like Facebook and Instagram and all of these social media aspects, TikTok and shorts and reels and everything, that you're falling behind. I know that's one of our flaws. We don't do shorts. Okay. I made a concerted effort to concentrate on my terrestrial radio stations. I get a lot of people who come into my show and, or they'll post on my YouTube channel. The show doesn't start for 30 minutes. It's all music and hellos. Well, that's 6 minutes. So let's not lie. Okay. But that's what people are these days. Okay. People are temperamentic on the internet and think that they can say whatever they want. They don't care about the feelings of others. They don't care who they're hurting and what they're saying, and I think we've all gone through that. I know team members of mine have gone through that, and it's pissed me off to the point where I've had to make phone calls to straighten people out for them. And it's not cool. I mean, there's room, Rob, to answer your question, there's room for everybody. There is room for everybody. Okay. But when I see somebody talking about consciousness and they're the only answer that that matters, and they're sitting there. Well, hold on a second here. I just have to take a sip of my coffee. That's good coffee. I don't want to listen to that blog talk radio crap. Okay, I want something that's informative. I don't want, podcasting has become the 2020s version of going out for coffee. Except we're not going out for coffee or a beer. We're sitting at home talking on a microphone live on YouTube. That's what it's become.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that helps push the subject forward.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think I could agree with a lot of that, what you say, Dave. It's almost like if you go into the business module of your market segment. Well, these market segments are turned into quasi segments. You're either, as you said, a Napers camp or the Woo camp, but nothing in between. And it does dilute it because people today, Dave, don't have the open mind that you should have if you're exploring something that's really not supposed to exist.
Yeah.
You can't pick one camp over the other, in my opinion. And unfortunately, as you just brought up, it happens on a daily basis and it hurts everybody.
Well, I want to add to that too. Okay. I don't care if you're a nuts and bolts person. I don't care if you're a flesh and blood person.
Right.
I don't care if you're being taken by aliens 6 out of 7 nights a week, or if you've watched Bigfoot vanish right in front of you. Okay. There's too many non-experts in this field who claim to be experts. The other thing that I think we have to get rid of, and I beg my audience, and I'll beg your audience to stop hiding behind the word science. Okay. We're not conducting anything scientific. Paranormal wise, I stopped for about 3 years bringing on paranormal teams because they kept on telling me that they were conducting scientific investigation. Okay. Here's a couple things that I've learned. Okay. And I'm going to sound real sarcastic here for a second. To me, the minute I hear science in the paranormal, I know your team is full of crap. Okay. The minute I hear someone use the word squatch in Bigfooting, I know that your investigation is worthless. Okay, because real investigators don't squatch, they don't UAP, they don't science. Okay, they're there to allow the evidence to take them where they want to take it. Okay, and the problem that we have with the phenomena is your evidence is going to be different than mine. And the question is, why is it different? Why is, if you and I were on a paranormal investigation, why are you getting a man's voice and 3 seconds later I'm getting a lady's voice? Okay. Or why are you getting, Rob, why are you in the forest with me getting a rock thrown at and I'm seeing a glimmer man in the same location? Or how could you have people staring up the skies? The Phoenix Lights is a perfect example of this, where we all know what happened on March 13th, 1997, okay, with the 2 giant boomerangs that were flying over. But there are still people today who say, I didn't see a boomerang. I saw something that looked like the Star Wars Death Star, and it was filled right in. Or pardon me, the one of the Death Star, the triangle craft that Darth Vader's guys had. I forget what they are called. I apologize. Oh, not stormtroopers. Those are the guys. Anyway, my critic here, but everybody sees something different. The phenomenon, which I think rules everything, it's very godly. The phenomenon, in my opinion, is what we need to be studying. The phenomenon dictates who gets to see what and how much they get to see. I had an incident last year where 7 of us had an experience at the same time with a Sasquatch and aliens at the same time in the middle of the forest where nobody's around. I didn't see the aliens. I'm standing half a foot away from 4 other people into the forest. I didn't see the aliens. Guess what? I saw the craft. Did anybody else see the craft? Not a single other person on our team, 6 others besides me, okay, saw the craft. I was the only one one who saw the craft.
Wow.
5 others saw 2 aliens walking through the trees. I didn't see them.
Mm-hmm.
How come they were able to see them and I wasn't? How come I saw the craft and they didn't?
Yeah. Wow.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris. I know you got a question there.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, it's a mixture of everything. You can't, you know, like Dave said. I mean, he nailed everything on the head. I agreed with everything as far as like the paranormal investigating, the science. I mean, wholeheartedly. I mean, he nailed it, 100%. Oh.
Yes, that's why I've been watching for a very long time. Back when Dave was just on Spreaker, Dave, and I had to listen to your voice the next day for the rerun. That's how I just got lucky, and when I was getting into this, and this guy sounds great. So
and I don't want to make it sound like my opinion is the only opinion out
for
there.
sure.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's just after 9.5 years of doing and talking to a couple thousand people in this field. And that's kind of what I have learned. I mean, look, there are people out there, no matter what, that are going to believe everything that is told to them by the side that they support. But here's the thing. It seems like in our field, especially, okay, it has really turned into a situation where opinion rules more than science.
Mhm.
Look, I used to be a flesh and blooder in the Bigfoot area because I didn't know about all this stuff of Bigfoot vanishing or being interdimensional. Okay, the one I do have troubles with to this day, I can tell you, is people who think that Sasquatch are people too and they need voting rights. Right? And and to me that is just ridiculous. But who am I to say that I'm wrong or that I'm right? And too many times we have so many people out there who will absolutely vilify you on the air because they don't agree with your opinion. And everybody is looking for one of those BS aha caught you moments. Okay. I can give you an example of that. I said something on the air the other night where somebody approached Courtney Marcassani, my UFO reporter, about saying, wow, you shouldn't do that show anymore. You shouldn't do spaced out radio anymore because Dave is anti-disclosure. I've never said that.
No,
I have never said that. I've got more aliens than most people out there. Okay. And
right.
but here's what I did say. And this is how people look for these aha caught you moments these days. That it just grinds my gears. Like I literally want to take them into the Walmart toy aisle and pick out a toy and then shake them and say, you can't have that toy. Okay. I said, I don't believe in disclosure unless it's full disclosure. I believe that the government.
Uh-oh.
I didn't know if it was me or you or what. Kind of froze up.
Yeah, a little freeze up there, Dave.
Yep, Davis froze.
You're all good, Sweet Pea. Thanks, Gary Spice, for the 5 Bigfoot memberships. Arr. So Dave is froze. Hopefully I'm sure he realizes it.
Yeah, he'll be back.
And he'll reboot it.
Yeah, he'll be back. And in the meantime, though, you got several people who.
Yeah, I'll go through this. I usually wait to about the 52-minute
Right.
mark, but I appreciate people. T-Bone for the super chat, Paranormal Pixie, the super chat, Catherine Gay, super sticker, Be Kind, super chat, Scott's Life gifting 5 Bigfoot, Mr. Rob, our pirate memberships. Thanks so much, Scotty. Sweet Pea, thank you so much. Michelle Delaney, thank you. Gary Spice, 5 more new new pirates. So thanks to everybody in advance. I really do appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, so Dave is I'm sure going to come back and reconvene shortly. I've never seen Dave run out. I've never seen his show ever flicker off. So it must be having some weather down.
Oh, Paranormal Pixie says the ET's got him.
Yeah, the ETs. The ETs got him.
Yeah, he's got some pretty good valid points there, I got to say.
You know, and what he's talking about too is like, it doesn't matter if you're on the side of the flesh and blood on these creatures or if you're on the woo side.
Right.
Because, hey, I say it every day. I think they're a combination of both. Is that a cop out? That's just my belief from what I experienced. That's all I can say. If somebody comes on and says that Bigfoot walked in their living room, sat down, had dinner with them, like as ridiculous as that sounds, we weren't there, like he said, right? You're not there.
Right. No, that's true. You're not there. And that's why I'll never tell anybody, that I don't believe, your encounter or anything like that, because I wasn't there. And, my encounter is pretty crazy, as is yours. And I don't mean my Bigfoot encounter. But your Bigfoot encounter,
Yeah, it's a combination. Dave's just texted me. His internet went down. He is going to be back shortly.
Okay.
So don't anyone go over. This is a fantastic show. We lost momentum of the show because Dave did have some great points. And like I say, we both agree with a lot. And he's spot on with a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And so,
and that's fine.
So, yeah, I appreciate it. We'll just keep on rolling until Dave gets back up. But like you even said, Christa, I think that you and Brandy, I don't know when you finally had your Bigfoot encounter, right? Experience.
Yep.
And I'm not so sure what camp you were in, but you're kind of.
We were flesh and blood, but although, we were open to it only because, very first time I ever went to the LBL, I seen orbs. There was full of orbs all over the place. So, granted, there is cemeteries all over there. However, we weren't around any cemeteries. Right. So, it makes you think. You've got to have an open mind on these things. It's not all, right there in the textbooks. You got to think beyond.
Sorry about that, guys. My internet quickly dipped out and then dipped back up, and I had to reload it.
No worries.
So
hey, you know what, Dave? It's happened to me many times. In fact, it's happened to me on your show before. So, yeah.
Yes, it has.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I remember those were nightmares back a couple of years ago. But anyway, Chris and I were just going over, and we both, for one, believe you're spot on with a lot of the things you say. It's like you can't just choose a side, because if you are into this phenomena, you got to be open-minded to everything. And, I always refer to the story, as Christa knows. I interviewed Ron Moorhead. And when I talked to Ron told me 30 years ago, if I'd have came up to Ron and said, "Hey, Ron, I'm thinking that these Bigfoot creatures are somewhat supernatural or something different about them," he would have turned me around and said, "Rob, go home. There's no such thing." And when I talked to him last, he says, Rob, now he has become more open-minded. In fact, Ron Moore is more into the woo than the flesh and blood. He thinks they might even be part alien or something to do with aliens.
Yeah.
The quantum mechanics, right? The book that he put out about converting mass and energy. He goes, it just doesn't add up how these things could be just flesh and blood. Now, I think it's a combination, and that's kind of a cop-out, I know, but that's my opinion from what I saw. So you just can't discredit or call somebody loopy just because they don't believe in it. And you said it, Dave. You weren't there when I had this happen. You weren't there when I had this happen. And I'm with you. I could care less if anybody believes my Bigfoot encounter or any of the paranormal things I've come with. So, and again, that's what makes, and I don't even call this a community, really. It's just so many different segments, like you talked about earlier. And it's just sometimes just annoying and painfully trying to get through.
Well, and it is very painful to try and get through, because the scary part about it with people today in our field is that they're going at times extreme. Okay. I mean, you think about it. We have people doxing people and their careers, their daytime careers, contacting their bosses because of a disagreement over Sasquatch.
Mhm.
Okay. We have people doxing court cases and like, guys, this is actually happening. I work a daytime job. I have no problem saying that. I work a daytime job. That's how I pay my bills. Radio doesn't pay that much as I am continuing to build SOR. Okay. I need to pay my mortgage. I need to pay my car payment. I need to have food. I need to have electricity. I have to pay every Trudeau tax that comes out every day. Okay. I mean, I have to do that. And I had one person that I thought was a friend angry at me. Okay. Didn't even know he was angry at me. And he went to some of my listeners and doxed my work and said, this is where Dave works. He's a liar. He's not a journalist. He works in the car industry, which I do. Okay. I'm very proud to work in the automotive industry. It's given me a lot of things in my life. Okay. And here's the thing, my real name is on there because Dave Scott is actually my middle name. I make no bones about it. I've never made bones about the fact that I use a pseudonym because I like some privacy. But here I started getting people emailing me about this person doxing me from their website. Who does that? Over UFOs? Right? You're going to try and embarrass me or make me look bad in front of my audience? What the person didn't know was that I have my diploma in broadcast journalism from the British Columbia Institute of Technology, that I worked 10 years in radio. Okay. I earned that journalism degree. I'm proud to say I wasn't a good student. I graduated second last in my class, but I was one of six people out of our class that graduated who actually made it to the big city. The rest of them either failed, never went into media, or ended up in some small town radio station where they've spent the rest of their life making about $8 over minimum wage.
Wow.
Okay. But I made it. But this person tried to embarrass me, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I've had all sorts of things happen over the years. I've been ripped off financially. I've been accused of being racist, being homophobe, all because I have a differing view of subjects. And it's unconscionable how far people will go in order to try and put you in your place as they sort of, and trust me, guys, it's not a fun world. This is why what I've done I've really focused on this over the last year and a half is I've really segregated who I communicate with on a daily basis. I used to have about 20 people a week that I would contact just a, hey, how are you? Everything like that, because you have to. Okay. Now I'm down to about 5. Right. And it's not out of distrust. It's unfortunately people speak. And if you say the one thing, if I were to all of a sudden say, hey man, I'm a conservative up here in Canada, which is about the equivalent of a hybrid between a liberal and a Democrat and a Republican in the States. It's the person in the middle. That's what I am. Okay. But there's people out there who are going to say, oh my God, you're a conservative. You're racist. You're this. We can't listen to your show. We can't do this. And it's unfortunate that we actually have to deal with that. And never once have I ever done anything that would hurt anybody's feeling. Okay. This is why, when it's funny because I put people, if they want to join SOR now, be a part of our team, I'm always open to it. But now I have to be real careful with who I break on because I have to make sure, what are your politics? What is your lifestyle? What are you doing? Are you somebody who is a little bit off their rocker by posting everything in their dog on Instagram or Facebook or, and you got to be careful now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You told me a long time ago, Dave. You always got if you're starting out with this podcast and YouTube channel, you did say something, and a lot of things you've told me. You're one of the few people I listen to and really respect and remember
Thank you.
what you say. And I mean that. And you told me, well, if you do this, you gotta remember, you gotta watch what you say, because anybody and everybody can misconstrue your words and turn it against you and make you look like you just said.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate that happens. It's happened to a lot of people.
Yeah,
I could talk about someone right now, but we won't. It's just
I think
terrible.
we all could. I think we all could. But Rob, I mean, that's why I've had to really cut down my inner circle. I
Yep.
mean, I love my fans. I love my fans more than anything. When it comes to the radio side, my boy here, he is, he's my world.
Mhm.
He's my absolute world, and usually I don't allow him in here on interviews, but he wanted to be in here. I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
I mean, you have to be able to spread the love. He was there when we saw the Bigfoot. Remember seeing the Bigfoot?
Oh, yeah. And you know what? I'd like to get into that with you really quickly. I'm taking 12 seconds so I can do the cut up for the podcast, and we'll get right back with it. So with that, I just want to thank T-Bone for the super chat, Paranormal Pixie for the super chat, Catherine Gay super sticker, Be Kind super chat, Scott's Life 5, Bigfoot Mr. Rob, Pirates R, thanks for the gift, Sweet Pea, Michelle Delaney, Gary Spike Sr. for gifting the memberships, Andrew Gnomes, Maggie, and James Leto. I appreciate you guys for the support and love of the program. I know you're enjoying it as much as I am. And that'll cover my 15 seconds that we got to do a cutout for whatever the reason for Spreaker.
Yep.
I got somebody else doing that. I have no idea why we do that, but we have to. So thanks for that. But it gives me a chance to thank everybody that participated in donations.
Mhm.
So yes, so Dave, yeah, you're going to be in Nebraska. You're going to be talking Bigfoot. Awesome, first time for you, and you got the little guy there with you, and you guys had an experience. Was that together, or can you tell us a little bit about that?
So we found this Bigfoot area kind of by accident. We were driving through the forest one day in 2022. It was Mother's Day weekend, and I saw a set of tracks, and they were a bunch of gumboot tracks. But when I looked closely at one of them, there were toes in there and a heel. And so when we went back to that area to cast it to see what it was like, all of a sudden, as we started looking through the area and we brought some toys out there to set up a gifting site, we started noticing a bunch of X's, like trees and that have been kind of put in an X pattern. And there were 3 of them right in a row within like 100 yards in a straight line. And so we started going there all the time. And we start, week after week after week. And we've had some weird stuff happen there. We had a UFO appear
Wow.
in a triangle form. Okay. And and as soon as I went to bring my phone out to take a picture of it, it disappeared. We have had orbs running through the trees. We've heard noises through the trees that just aren't a moose or a deer or something along those lines. And then, yes, why are you hitting me? You want to say something? Hold on. Go ahead.
When we found the second gifting site, I had the little anthill that I used to play on a lot.
Love that anthill.
Yeah.
First time he's ever spoken on a show. He hasn't even.
Wow.
Yeah, he's getting close to having that golden voice.
Yeah, we're working.
How old is he?
He's 10.
10. Well, you did a good job.
Good job, buddy.
Now let's take it fast forward. So we kept on going there week after week after week. And we had things really start going on. And the one thing that I've learned about going into the forest. There might be some Sasquatch hunters listening into me and tell me I'm full of crap. You don't need to be running through the deer trails or the branches and cutting your own trails looking for this thing. If you sit still, they're curious enough where they will come to you. Okay. So we have an area where my buddies and I and my son will park our vehicles. We park our vehicles in the same spot every time. Okay. Our fire is in the exact same spot every time. Our lawn chairs are in the exact same spot. And we make noise, and when we hear something, we'll get up. And on this particular night, it was the night before a full moon. So the sun was at about a 98 or the moon was at about a 98% full moon. And our friend Mark, way off in the distance, had heard a tree branch break. So he gets up. I walk over to him. I said, "What's going on?" And my son came with me, and he puts his flashlight up, and about 100 yards from our truck, there we encountered a 10-foot Sasquatch standing there in the middle of the logging road.
Wow.
What's that? You want to say what you saw?
Can confirm. It was like crouching down, so we couldn't really see it. And, oh, okay. I only saw it crouching down.
Yeah. So.
And after a few minutes, it was just gone, like nowhere to be seen.
Wow.
That's a good point. And so we called our buddy Mike over, and we said, "Mike, we got a Sasquatch over here." And we all put our flashlights up, and that's when we saw it crouching down. Now, here's the funny part. We started moving closer to it. Okay, let's see how close we could get. We got about 10 feet before this thing disappeared. Okay, but we don't know how it disappeared. If it went to its left, our right, we would have heard it, because it would have had to climb over a number of trees that had fallen. Well, we would have seen it too. If it went to its right, our left, it would have had to cross the logging road and go up an embankment in order to disappear into the trees. We would have seen it. If it went forward, we would have seen it come forward more. If it went backwards, we would have seen it fade into the darkness. How did it leave? We don't know. Now, we went back there 2 days later in the daylight because we wanted to see exactly where this was. We had night markers, but we wanted to see exactly where it was. We found no footprints in that area where we saw it. However, in a different area, probably 50 yards away, we found 2 left-footed 16-inch tracks, about 30 feet apart. And that was pretty cool. The awesome part about it was we knew there wasn't just one there. Okay. We knew there was more. And way off in the distance, we heard this loud woo way off in the distance, about 15 minutes after this guy disappeared. And 15 minutes after that, we hear woo again, but it's closer. So we know this guy's coming in now. How many we had there, we don't know. But we know we saw the one.
Maybe a lot, maybe a little.
Very true. Very true. So it was something that was a very unique night. Now, we've gone back there since then. Last year, we didn't have a single sighting. But believe it or not, this kid here, he actually has the ability to pick them up. We had one situation last year where he was playing in his anthill that he likes to destroy because he likes to play Godzilla in there. Okay. And my buddy Mike and I were sitting on his tailgate about 25 feet away from my son. And Mike leans over to me. He goes, "I'm hearing some noise." He whispers, "I'm hearing some noise on the left." Okay. And so we start kind of monitoring and looking over. No word of a lie. About 15 seconds later, my son jumps up and says, "Dad, they're here."
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Where are they?" And he pointed in the exact direction where Mike had heard the noise. And I said, "How many of them are there?" He goes, "There's 2." And I said, "How big are they?" He goes, he got meters and feet mixed up. He said that they were 10 to 15 meters tall. But when I explained to him the difference between meters and feet,
Mhm.
he actually meant to say feet.
Right.
And I said, "Are we okay to be here?" He goes, "Yes." They don't mind us here. And I said, "Are they going to come any closer?" He goes, "No." I said, "What are they doing?" He goes, "They're just watching us." Right? It was like a complete telepathic communication with what was going on, and we were all there to witness what was going on, because we could hear ruffling in the trees. Okay, we could hear it. And look, we know the animals in our area. That
Mhm.
area, we know there's grizzly bears in that area. We know there's black bears in that area. We know there are male moose that get up to about 1,500 pounds in that area. And believe it or not, as funny and dopey as moose look, they are a dangerous animal.
Mhm.
We know that there's mountain lions in that area. We know that there's lynx in that area, bobcats in that area. And we also know that there's a minimum of 10 in a wolf pack in that area.
Wow.
That is a dangerous area for wildlife.
Mhm.
We know. You learn where I live in the wilderness, you learn to learn what the animals are doing and who's moving at you. Okay, and that's what makes it interesting a little bit more.
Wow. Question: going out and doing the Bigfoot research and things. Have you ever had anything follow you home?
Yes. Now, I just want to clarify something. I am not a researcher. I am an enthusiast who has a bunch of weird crap that happens to them, and then I like to go play with it. Okay.
Right.
And I leave the researching to the much smarter people than me,
Gotcha.
And that's why
You leave it to the scientists, Dave. Come on.
well, no, there's people out there
I know.
in the UFO world, the cryptid world,
Right.
and I have a good base of people. Rob, you know that
I know.
you know me quite well. I have a base of people who I rely on. Like in the UFO world, I rely on people who are wildly wooful, like Grant Cameron, and I rely on people who are wildly scientific, like Bob McGuire.
Yep.
Mhm.
In the cryptid world, I rely on people like Carter Bouchard or Nate Rudd or Jessica Jones, who's one of my favorites, or many other people out there who I can bounce ideas from. I don't take one side. I want to know all the sides. I want to know the woo side. I want to know the scientific side, because I'm trying to figure out what I saw. Like, a lot of people will say to me, why don't you carry a camera out there? Why aren't you taking photos? Frankly, I don't care. I'm not here to prove the existence of Bigfoot. I've seen it. I'm not here to prove the existence of aliens and UFOs. I've seen them. Okay. I'm proving it to myself. I'm not here to prove it to the world. I want to know for myself what is going on. That's why I consider myself an enthusiast and not a researcher.
Mhm. Makes sense.
So now, getting back to your question about if I brought anything home. Oh yeah. I've brought home spirits. I've never had a cryptid follow me home.
Mhm.
UFOs, they're everywhere where I live,
Wow.
but paranormal wise, yeah.
Mhm.
I've had a lot of things happen paranormally, and, my house is, it's kind of interesting at times. The other night, I'll give you an example. The other night, I saw something move in my kitchen. I was over in my TV room. My son was asleep, and I was in my TV room, and I see this little head with dirty blonde hair just above the countertop. Like, all I could see was like the skull part of the head up run through my kitchen.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of things
Mhm.
that are going on. Right. I've had a ghost in my yard. I never have to, and since I met the ghost in my yard, my garbage cans by bears have only been turned over twice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Otherwise, he guards my garbage cans. I can leave my garbage can out for years, and it'll never get turned over by a bear.
Wow.
Unless this guy's doing something else. They got me last year. I went outside. I said, "Hey, bud." His name is Richard. I said, "Hey, Richard, like, come on. Like, why am I cleaning up the garbage here? I thought we had a deal. I give you wood because he used to like to build things. Okay. He used to live in this house. And he never was inside, but he used to live in this house. And he would, we made a trade. You take care of the house, keep the bears out of the yard. I will keep some wood around and some nails and some tools for you to work with, so that way you can have some woodwork. Do some woodwork. I don't build things. I don't need 2x4s. I keep them there for him. Right? He can build whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Right? Last year my garbage can got dumped and I had to give him one of you son of a, to do that. Right? So yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. And I just, Christa, I just enjoy the experience.
Sure.
Okay. And like I said, I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. My show is about telling stories and information. Okay. I mean, there's so many where the proof people out there these days that it's made it nauseating to be a part of. I said a number of months ago, I just said, screw it. I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to pay attention to the drama online. I'm not going to pay attention to Twitter. I'm not going to pay attention. I mean, do I follow it? Yeah, I know what's going on. You have to. Okay. But I don't pay attention to it anymore. I don't, if somebody tries to goad me into something, I private message them and I say, you have an issue. Here's my phone number. Call me. If we're going to be humans here, call me. I did it with Stephen Greenstreet. I called out Stephen Greenstreet because I thought his journalism was a little yellow belly. And he didn't like that. And he was trying to goad me into a Twitter war. And I messaged him. I could pull it up right now. I messaged him and said, Steve, you're never going to get me to comment on Twitter. I don't play the aha Katya game. Okay. If you want to talk about it, journalist, let's talk. Here's my phone number. You know what? Never a tweet about me again. And he never called. Right. Sometimes you got to call the bluff. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You do. Throughout your time doing this and prior to even Space Hour Radio, you have come across UFOs that you've seen. In fact, one of my favorite stories, Dave, is about the triangle that literally came over the top of your house when you had a group of friends over and you told them, wait, you want to see something tonight?
Yeah. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. That happened, I think, in May of 2023. May or June. It was a spring day, spring night, and all day I'd been feeling like we're going to see a UFO that night. And I called up my friends and I said, "Hey, what are you and the wife doing tonight?" He goes, "Nothing. We're hanging on out. No plans." He goes, "Why?" I said, "How about we play some tunes on my patio?" I had one of those miniature fireplaces that you could actually put on your patio. I said, "Well, we'll have a little fire, and we'll have a couple beers, and we'll stare up and watch the UFOs fly over." And he goes, "UFOs, really?" And he goes, "How do you know they're actually coming?" I said, "I don't. I just have a feeling." So I ended up, they ended up coming over, and it got dark probably about 9:30, and way off in the distance to the southeast, I noticed out of the blue, I noticed this orange rod appear in the sky, and it had no contrail, no fire trail like a comet, nothing, or something burning up in the atmosphere. And what happened was, as it got bigger, I noticed that there were two silver orbs on each end, so it looked like an old school dumbbell.
Mhm.
So the silver orbs with this orange rod connecting them. And this thing went streaking across the sky from southeast to northwest. And my friends was like, oh my God, his wife is freaking out because she's like Catholic. Okay. And she's doing the Hail Marys and Mother Mary save me and all this. Like literally, she is freaking out. I'm not even exaggerating. And my friend is like, what is that? What the hell was that? I said, that is a UFO. And I said, but you know what's really weird? I said, I don't think we're done yet. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. So 30 minutes later, when you get to like the halfway, I'm not a big drinker. Like I can nurse a beer for like 2 hours. Rob, I am the worst bar customer ever because if I buy a beer at 8:00, by 10:00, I am still drinking that beer. Okay. You'd hate me, but I tip well.
Well, that's good to know, dude. Good to know.
Okay. So I am literally, when you kind of tip your head back to take a sip when you get close to the bottom, I tip my head back and I see something out of my peripheral vision looking up. I put my bottle down, I look up and I said, what the hell is that? And my friends go, where? And I looked up and above my house, there was a giant black triangle sitting there in the sky. And the entire undercarriage was lit up with orange rods connected by silver orbs. And it silently flew through the sky north. And eventually it was like a door opened in the sky because all of a sudden the front started to fade. Then the middle started to fade out like it was flying through a door. And eventually it vanished. And I was like, what the heck is that? And literally my friend had to take his wife home because I think she had to change her shorts.
Wow.
She was freaking out. Like literally
through a portal, it sounds like to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was an amazing black triangle story. But I want to get to the story because it's 10 years ago tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. And by the way, on my show on Monday night, Samantha Mowat will be my guest because 5 days after this event, I met Samantha Mowat. And 20 minutes after meeting this young lady who claims to be a lifelong ET contactee, she walks me into the forest where I'm staring at a 10 to 12 foot extraterrestrial. Okay. Like she was unbelievable. I've been in the forest with Samantha twice in my life, known her for 10 years now. I've been in the forest with her twice in my life, and twice I've had aliens in the forest staring at us.
Wow.
Okay. Like, when she tells you there's aliens around, there's aliens around. You got aliens. But what happened here was my son was a little guy, and his mother was over at a friend's house for tea that night. And I was coming from work, and I had about a 35-minute commute to get home. And I was having a migraine. Okay, like it was such a bad migraine for people who have migraines or have suffered from migraines. You know, the type that if you're driving into oncoming traffic, headlights are the worst thing ever to your eyes. And it just shoots pain right into your eyes. And this is the type of migraine I was having. I arrive at the house, I go sit on the couch, and I'm asked, how you feeling? And I said, look, I got a migraine. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stay, but I'm going to sit on the couch. I'm going to put a pillow over my eyes. Hopefully it subsides. And that way we can hang out for the evening. Not a problem. So let me paint a picture for you. My friend's house was a small, like log cabin house, a 2-bedroom house, 1-story log cabin on 10 acres. This place was like a mini Skinwalker Ranch. It had everything. It had spirits. It had Sasquatch. It had everything, fairies and orbs and everything going on this property. There were only 2 houses on the street. There was their 10 acres, and to the right of them, if you were facing the house, to the right of them, an elderly couple had like 6.5 acres. And both properties were horseshoed by forest. Okay. And so here we were that night. I'm sitting on the couch and my migraine subsides, but then my head starts pulsating. It started off as a square in the front of my head. Then a triangle was pulsating on the right side of my head. And then a circle was pulsating on the left of my head. And after the pain subsided, I immediately knew I had to go outside. I had to go into that backfield. There was something back there that I had to look at. So my partner says to me, can I come? And I said, no, you have to stay inside with the boy. I mean, my son was only 10 months old at that time.
Mhm.
And the lady of the house says to her hubby, Dave is picking something up. We need to go outside right now. I turned to her and I said, he's not invited. Why would
Wow.
I tell somebody they're not invited in their own yard?
Right.
But she was. So her and I get our shoes on. We walk out the front door. We walk behind the house. It's one of those nights where if you live on the West Coast, you know that we live in a natural rainforest. There's a lot of low, misty, wet nights where it's not raining, but you're actually soaking wet from being outside from the mist. And it wasn't a high cloud cover at all. So we go back behind the house about 50 feet. There was this old 2x10 horse fence that was there and couldn't feel anything. I'm looking around. I'm like, there's energy here. I don't know what's here. And the lady says, well, they called you outside. Ask for them. And I'm like, okay. I said, out of God's peace, love, and light, you called us outside. Can you please show me where you are? And as soon as I finished that sentence, bang, from about 150 yards away, the entire tree line in between the two properties and behind the properties lit up like a Christmas tree on my command. It was the brightest white light I have ever seen. I knew it was coming from the ground. It was so bright. And this is one thing that I remember about it. It was so bright, yet I could stare at the light without it hurting my eyes. So
Wow.
weird. So weird. And after about 30 seconds, the lights went off. I then said, I swore a little bit, like, can you, this is going on. And she's like, do it again. So I said, if you are of alien descent, out of God's peace, love, and light, can you turn your lights back on? Bang. Lights come back on again. Now, I want to preface this, okay? As cool as a lot of the stories and the experiences I've had are, I'm very skeptical of them. Okay, so what's going through my mind at this point is it somebody with one of those 100,000 candle watt flashlights? Am I hearing noise? Am I hearing people? Is there any chatter? Is there any movement in the light? Is there anything? Like, I'm rolling this through my head. Do I hear any music? Do I hear any cars? Nothing is happening. It's just dead silence and this white light. But I start seeing something blue. And
Wow.
so I move over about 10, 15 feet to find a path through the trees that I could look through. And that's where I saw this blue cylinder standing vertically to the trees. And the white light was emanating all around it from the bottom. And between the white light and the blue cylinder, there was this black cloud that was rotating counterclockwise. And it would go halfway up the cylinder and then make its way down and then back up and make its way down. And I estimate that thing stood about 20 to 30 feet tall because the trees in between my friend's house and the neighbor's house, there's an old fence line there that also had trees separating the property. Those trees were about 60 to 70 feet tall. So that's how I was able to estimate the size of this blue cylinder. And then after 30 seconds, lights went off again. And then right after that, my friend says, let's walk up there. No, we're not walking up there. She goes, come on, let's go. Let's check this thing out. Let's see if we can get close to it. I said, no, we don't know what the hell this thing is. I said, if this thing takes you, I'm suspect number one.
Right.
I said, I remember saying, I saw fire in the sky.
Right.
I am not doing this. Okay. We're not going to be stupid people here. Okay.
Right.
And so finally she goes, fine. Okay. Let's stay here. See if they'll turn the lights on one more time. I said, fine. I said, just so I'm not crazy, out of God's peace, love, and light, could you please turn the lights on one final time? Bang. The lights come on again. They're just as bright. They're just as wide. Okay. I see the blue cylinder. There's the cloud rotating counterclockwise. But then it did something weird. You know how a lot of people will look up in the sky at night and they'll see satellites flying by, and then all of a sudden they power up to this really bright white orb, and then they fade on down and take off. I used to have that happen over top of my house every night.
Wow.
Every night. Okay. Like, we're not talking once or twice. I'm sitting on my patio having a Coke, okay, and staring up at the stars, and I'm looking at these power-ups all over the sky, but they always seem to happen over top of my house. Skeptic of me said satellites.
Mm-hmm.
Where I found out that wasn't true is after the third time where it turned its lights off, after about 30 seconds, it powered up the white light only, then turned it off, then powered up the white light only again and turned it off, and again and off and again.
Wow.
And it did this about 9-10 times before it blanked out. And I was like, holy cow. Like, this is incredible. And I kept begging, just turn them on one more time. I said that I knew I said the last time was the last time, but just one more time, please. And nothing ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
So after 10 minutes, we start to walk back towards the house. And I look up, or the lady looks up, and she goes, what's that? She points to the sky, and right through the clouds, remember the low misty clouds, there was an orange orb sticking out of the cloud, staring at us. And the minute we looked at it, the orange orb sucked its way back into the cloud. And then right after that, we see the white light ripple through the clouds like a lightning bolt and take off.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 10 years ago tomorrow night.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible.
That is incredible. And unfortunately, I lost power. My power went on and off for a few seconds, but that's
weird too.
That is, everything's weird. We're in the high strange game, right? That's what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Dave, why do you think you've had so many weird encounters?
2 reasons.
Mm-hmm.
The logical voice is I asked for it. When my friend Pascal asked me that time, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go?
Mm-hmm.
And I said all the way. He opened me up spiritually to be able to have these encounters. Number 2, I think that whoever they are, wanted me to get back into radio and be a voice of understanding for the message.
Oh.
And that's kind of the way I've treated it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to preface this, Chris. I never wanted this. I never asked for it. I never asked for these encounters. I never asked for any of this.
Mm-hmm.
I loved my happily boring life.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But the phenomenon is choosing a lot of people right now. And it calmed down for a while, but between 2011 and 2013, 2014, the phenomena awakened a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people. And I was one of them.
Wow.
And like I said, I had no intention. I had never heard of online radio before. Never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of podcasting. Never heard of anything. And now I look at myself and here I am.
Right. Wow.
Right. But the phenomena, we also have to remember the phenomena is a trickster as well. it will lead you into areas where you think you're supposed to go, and it's taking you down a path that's a dead end. And that's happened a few times too. So you have to be real wary of the phenomena of what it's trying to show you, because sometimes it's amazing. The people I've met, my fans, the people I've interviewed, have been incredible. The opportunities it's opened up have been incredible. But there's also sides to the phenomena that's very evil. I've had every psychic tell me to this day that they are surprised that Spaced Out Radio isn't internationally renowned by now, like Coast to Coast. Now, I don't say that to sound cocky, that I'm the next one or anything. That's not what I mean at all. But I'm always curious with what a psychic says, because I do believe there are good psychics out there. And I always said, we can't believe it hasn't taken off yet. Why? Well, that's the phenomena.
Right.
And the phenomena goes into your biggest insecurities and makes them your biggest detriments. That's the trickster part. I had a trickster. Here's a fun story for you. I had a trickster element one night. We were playing on a spirit board. And here we are. We've got our fingers on the planchette. It's going all around, and we're having a good time. And all of a sudden it spells out message for Dave. Okay.
Wow.
So that's pretty direct.
Mm-hmm.
And then it spells out 9 weeks from Friday, you will, or Saturday or whatever it was, you will win the lottery. Okay.
Okay.
It gets weirder. I said, okay, how much will I win? $43 million. Okay. Where do I buy my ticket? At the gas station you normally do. Do not look at the numbers. Okay. So I followed that path. Okay. Now, if you know anything about the Canadian lottery system, when it carries over, it usually goes up by 2, by 5, or by 10.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot add any of those numbers up to get a 3. 9 weeks later, lo and behold, it's announced the lottery has carried over for 9 weeks, and it is now $43 million.
Oh.
Wow.
I buy my ticket. The draw is at 6:49 that night. Okay. And I forget about it. I go have a stressful day at work. I go back to the farm that night where we're playing on the spirit board, and I've forgotten about my ticket. And all of a sudden the board starts spinning the planchette. Who do you want to talk to? Keeps pointing to me. Oh, you have a message for Dave. The lady says, yes. Okay, spell it out. Congratulations. And I'm like, oh, crap, the lottery ticket. So in their home area, they had terrible cell phone, like 1-bar cell phone service, and I could barely pull up the website for the lottery ticket numbers. Okay. I pull up the lot finally after about 10 minutes, 15 minutes of going through 1995 type internet connection.
Yeah.
Okay. The numbers pop up. I do not have one single number on that.
Oh, God.
$10. I bought $10 worth of tickets, and not one number of the $10 worth of tickets was on the lottery. Like, not one. Like, give me one number. Not a one.
Wow.
I go back to the board, and I said, I was mad. I said, do you think this is a joke? Do you think I'm a joke? Spelled out sword. And I'm like, no, this isn't a joke. This is actually quite cruel. Why would you do this to me? Not sure. Sorry.
Oh, my Lord.
Wow.
And it kept on saying that, sorry. And I got so mad. I started swearing at the board, and I've never used the board since. Never use the board. It's not that I don't believe in it. Would I do it again? Absolutely, I would use a talking board again, for sure. I would. Okay, but it was an easy but a hard lesson to learn at the same time, that you cannot trust what's on the other side of the board.
It's true,
right? Yeah,
Yep.
53 million and zero numbers. I love that story.
It's a bittersweet story because a
Yeah.
lot of things that have happened on the other side of the Ouija board are a little more sinister than that. So that was bittersweet, and that was really it was a good story. It was pretty good, despite not getting the 43 million Canadian.
Yeah, which is like $18 American
Yeah.
right now, I think.
Yeah,
I like Werewolf's comment. Werewolf says, had to take the Porsche back.
Oh, thank goodness I didn't finance the Porsche.
Right.
Dave, I know you got a show coming on about an hour and a half. This has been a great show. I always love when you come on. I really do. I appreciate that. And where can people? I said it earlier. Where can people find you in case they don't?
Everything is Spaced Out Radio on all social media and my website. My son wants to make one comment, if you don't mind, Rob.
Yeah. No, I don't mind.
Oh, I was about to say this a long time ago, but if people encounter so much cryptids and stuff like that, then there's a more likely chance that there could be sea monsters than people actually say.
That's right.
What? I believe there are sea monsters out there as well.
Yep, I do too.
Absolutely, my friend.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rob. And I hope I was good for you. And
no, man, you're fantastic. Again, you got to go back to work here another hour and a half, so we'll cut you loose here in a minute. I do appreciate it as always. You finally get to come on a night show, which is a little different, and again, I do appreciate that. And once again, before we go, and we'll say goodnight to Dave. Go check him out in an hour and a half at Space Star Radio. T-Bone, Paranormal Laura, Catherine Gay, Be Kind, Scotty's Life, Sweet Pea, Michelle Delaney, Gary Spice, Andrew Nomestrucky, Maggie, James, Alito, Kat, Pajo Zorch. Thanks for the amazing super chats and/or memberships or gifting of memberships. That is awesome. I do appreciate that. And Dave, I'll let you go and run, and Chris and I will finish it out, my man. Thank you so much.
And thank you to your audience for paying attention and having fun. And don't forget, if you haven't already, go hit subscribe at spacedoutradio.com.
Absolutely. Thanks,
My
Dave.
son wants to take it back here.
All right.
Yep. Thank
If
you.
you're new here, welcome to the club.
Say good night.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Take
Take care.
care, Dave. All right. Bye-bye.
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 So that was a great show, Christa with Dave Scott, Space Radio, and I enjoyed a lot of great tales. That was weird how I lost a little connection. I had the power clicked on and off, and I was like, wow, So before we end the show, I want to take the time, Christa. Today is Tuesday, of course. Wednesday, Bart Nunley and Humanoids 9:00. Thursday, brunch with Bigfoot, Mr. Robin Tex. We have MK Davis on. And I think before that, that'll be a great show. And then you and Brandy Thursday, what you guys got going on? Any special guests lined up?
I don't know yet. I don't know what we got going on.
It's hanging in the balance. I get that.
I have been so busy with work. I'll get on it tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you will. You know how it goes, Chris. I was we're all, it's so hard to juggle your business day, your work day with this, doing podcasting, finding guests, getting them all.
Right.
It's just nuts. And now that the weather's getting nice, you tend to do a lot of other activities, with the kids or whatever,
Oh yeah. Yep. Stay busy,
And if you, excuse me, well, I don't know. If you're new here, please subscribe to BMR, Bigfoot, Mr. Rob. Subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. Texas Front Porch. We're always on. It seems like we're on, and now Tex added another show, so go check him out. And again, everybody that came on in, that donated, that became new BMR Pirates, that is totally awesome. Love you all. And with that being said, Kristen, I think I'm going to sign us off as soon as I can find the button, as Tex always says. So many buttons, so many buttons. With that being said, Christa, I'll see you a little bit later
Good night,
backstage, and
everybody.
everybody else, good night.